Welcome back. I've got Hedwig on the line speaking to me from Christchurch, and we've been talking about his photographic journey and exploration of Great Bear Island here, and also his work elsewhere, working in around the South Island, and his past career teaching photography at Christchurch Polytechnic. Mary, are you still there?
I am.
Good. Okay, Mary. We just in the break there we were just talking about the rich potential Great Bear Island really does have for photography and visual artists. Look, you must have walked away with a lot of ideas. Do you want to share some with us?
Well, sure. And these are ideas aren't necessarily just mine. The other people fed into them too. And one thing I'm seriously think that there's good potential for is some photographic workshops on the island of all kind of levels. So it's not just for island people, but visitors coming on to the island and photographing the natural beauty, or doing an environmental focus. Because I think the island, for its sheer variety of subject matter, which I've talked about earlier, just lends itself to a pretty rich and fertile experience that you could gain in just say a week workshop. So I think that's one of the things I'm keen to explore. Other than that, I certainly, personally, would love to get back and do some more and extend the portfolio I've got. It's a pity I'm not kind of I'm not a photographic diver, but I could see how rich and beautiful it would be to that person. It's just something that I'm not, even though I love swimming, etc., photographically underwater I haven't. I've left it a bit late to start, I think.
Sorry, but one thing that you are interested in, and you present yourself as a filmmaker as well. How would that tie into photography?
Yeah, filmmaking was part of my early kind of career, and I'm not sure whether I'm going to get back into that kind of industry again. Once again, it's something that I love sequencing. So maybe the cinematic thing comes back in different kind of ways. It certainly there are slideshows and presentations and audio visuals, etc. That's a possibility rather than making feature films or documentaries, etc., or directing, whatever. Life's full of interesting things, and you've got to say no to a few things, I think.
Well, photography itself, in this day and age of multimedia, where one can really go into all sorts of directions. In fact, it's that the simplicity of photography as a two-dimensional still image that kind of brings back focus and freezes the moment is actually quite refreshing, and it is actually something in a busy world. I find a good photograph something just has got a very meditative quality. Sure,
I think that's the goal of photography, wanting that moment that resonates, that lasts a long time, and so I tend to judge my work on, and I sometimes put my work away, and then I come back and see if it works in 6 months or 3 years. Does it have, that does it ring every time you bring it out? The thing that you're after as a photographer is an image that's going to keep on keeping on. And
if us amateurs are going out and want to achieve and look out for the same thing, what sort of advice would you give us in a workshop to aspire to that?
Yeah, I think you've got to, if you've got a location in mind and an image in mind, then you've got to push the envelope. You've got to photograph it many, many times, and keep asking yourself when you're there, what else am I bringing to this? Because I think in teaching, there is this kind of saying that came from an American photographer about, and he described it as the something else factor. So the image has to have more than just the real out there. It's got to speak to you a different way. So that's my style anyway. I'm not a straight documentation man. I want my images to say something. Maybe it's the spirit of something. Maybe it's emotion. Maybe it's I'm looking for something that's something else. So, in other words, push yourself. Try different lights, different times. Approach the subject different ways.
And talking to you, and especially in the previous few minutes, I got a real sense of photography in your mind being a craft where someone goes out and waits for the right light to come, the right moment to appear. And for a lot of us, photography is very much a snapshot moment. Hey, this looks good. Let's get a picture, and it'll look right. And there's not much thought that goes into framing it, into getting the angle right, and waiting for the right moment of light. And when one thinks the way you are, saying, okay, what am I trying to add to it, then this actually takes a lot more effort and attention, doesn't it?
Well, it does, and I suppose when I've worked in this field for so long, I do it instinctively. I don't ask myself what I'm doing. It all happens instinctively. I don't have to ask what aperture I'm doing or what lens I'm using or why am I doing this. It all happens quite naturally and fluently. And then if it doesn't work in the frame, then you something's obviously not right. You move till you make it work. So the elements. So you orchestrating light, then the frame, and what you're trying to say, all at one kind of moment, and usually it speaks to you in the frame if it's going to work or not, whether the light's going to work, whether the moment's going to work, whether you're in the right spot. And to me, upon my landscape photography and a lot of I do architectural photography as well, where I actually position the camera is incredibly important because that determines the whole spatial relationship in the frame. And landscape's a little bit similar to that. But when you're photographing people, you tend to be much more mobile and free and loose. You've got to keep moving it around and find that. So your shooting pattern and your rhythm's quite different.
Now, when the first camera I had was nothing automatic on it, I basically sort of had to think clearly about the aperture, exposure time, look at the little meter, the needle on the side viewfinder. Sure. And that it was, you can argue that was really great because I've got a sense of depth of field now and how one can combine different ways. On the other hand, it was quite distracting because really I was so technically preoccupied that I missed the moment and I didn't worry too much about framing. And so do you think that with today's technology, because that what you're saying is automatic to you, it's kind of built into my little digital camera, it fits in my pocket, it's there anytime. If I want to whip it out and get the shot of somebody doing something, it's there. Yeah. Have we lost something or gained something?
On gaining good images, I think we're winning. I think we've gained something there, yeah. But I think there's a point where program mode won't work because it can't evaluate the light the way your eye can see it. Like human vision and how we adapt and cope with different kind of lighting levels. The eye and brain is an amazing thing, and photographically we haven't developed something that's as sophisticated as that. So, yeah, I think we have gained. Because there are some situations where I'll switch away from my manual and I'll work on a program if I'm working a digital camera. But if I'm working a film camera, like the panorama camera, by now I may have my light metering on automatic, but I'm constantly moving an adjustment for exposing, particularly when I'm looking into the light. I have to do half stop or make a decision. Is it half stop I want to overexpose, or is it a whole stop? Because I'm trying to make every frame count on the film. I've only got 20 frames to a 35mm film, and it's slide film, etc. So, yeah, you want your exposures to be with transparency to be accurate. So I think technology has made it friendlier, but I think you're a much better photographer if you know your depth of field and what to give you. And program isn't always going to, deliver the shallow depth of field you may want, etc. So you've got to be prepared to live in both worlds.
And that's maybe a good note to come to an end on, Murray. Thank you, because you've given us a bit of inspiration that photography is not just a question of the right technology in hand. It's an art, it's a craft, and it takes good sense of purpose.
Sure.
Okay, thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
And calling us from Christchurch, I hope those earthquakes are settling down. You made it sound like there's still a feeling of one doesn't know when they're going to end and what's going to fall over next.
Sure. I missed the 5.5, so I'm quite pleased about that.
Okay, well, let's hope that Christchurch will come and settle down in the end and that life can find its normal track. But you gave me the impression that we can pretty much count you kind of coming through here soon enough again. So I look forward to seeing you then.
Thank you. I've enjoyed coming back.
Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Okay, bye for now.